Well, it is a mail-in ballot battle. President Trump is harshly criticizing the unprecedented amount of expected mail-in ballots in the upcoming election, saying it can be an easy way to tamper with the election. On your side's Jocelyn Howard takes you beyond the ballot tonight to talking with local election and postal officials about their role in the upcoming election.
This upcoming election is going to have an unprecedented amount of mail-in ballots. The Duval County Supervisor of Elections office said they've already received 120,000 requests for mail-in ballots, and they're still getting more every day.
Very interesting times.
With over a decade of experience working in elections, Jerry Holland says this is something he never expected to see.
It's quite different than the way it used to be.
Because of the pandemic, 39% of voters plan to cast their ballot by mail this year. Of those who plan to vote for Biden, that number jumps to 58%. The president has slammed voting by mail, saying foreign countries can tamper with ballots sent through the U.S. Postal Service. Democrats say the president's opposition is to suppress voters.
It's just not as clean as voting in person on election day or an early voting site.
Not as clean, says the Duval County Supervisor of Elections, but not from a security standpoint.
It's a very safe way to vote.
Both Hogan and Holland back voting by mail with complete confidence. They say the problem with voting by mail is typically voter error.
The most important things is people do not follow instructions.
Hogan says the most common issues are not correctly filling in the circles when voting, not using a black pen, and your signature. A lot of people either forget it or it doesn't match what they have on file. That's why it's imperative to be proactive and mail in your ballot early so any potential issues can be caught before it's too late.
The only vote not counted is the one not cast.
Jocelyn Howard, First Coast News, on your side.